right, welcome everybody. It is the 11th of December. We are here on Zoom. There's been a power outage at our club, and unfortunately, between that and some of us being a little under the weather, me included, it's just as well that we're Zooming today. So, anyway, we're going to have a little fun. We got a bunch of videos to share. So, Arlene, why don't you start us off today and tell us what you've got?
All right. Well, I did this uh, I guess, I did this last year on our way to Las Vegas, and it's a ghost town. And I did this for Jimmy. Jimmy loves ghost towns, and so here we go. It's called Rhyolite. Soon the rush was on and several camps were set up. A town site was laid out nearby and given the name Rhyolite from the silica-rich volcanic rock in the area. There were over 2,000 claims covering everything in a 30-mile area. The town immediately boomed with buildings springing up everywhere. A bank was built and Board of Trade was formed. In 1905, Tom Kelly built a bottle house out of 51,000 beer and liquor bottles and adobe mud, since lumber was hard to come by. There were also hotels, stores, a school for 250 children, an ice plant, 2 electric plants, foundries, and even a train station. In April 1907, electricity came to Rhyolite, and by August of that year, a mill had been constructed to handle 300 tons of ore a day at the Montgomery-Shoshone mine. The financial panic of 1907 took its toll on Rhyolite and was seen as the beginning of the end for the town. In the next few years, mines started closing and banks failed. Newspapers went out of business, and by 1910, the production at the mill had slowed to $246,661, and there were only 611 residents left in the town. On March 14, 1911, the directors voted to close down the mine, which was the beginning of the end for Rhyolite.
What do we think of that?
You are so creative. That's so fun.
I like the fact that when you had the words on the screen, the text, you had something moving in the background, the smoke, the ghosty image behind it. That's much, much better than just a flat mat, you know.
One thing, oh, go ahead.
I would have liked to have seen more of the pictures behind the copy you were reading.
I didn't have that many photos because it was so hot that day, and it was windy and hot and dusty, and I really didn't want to get out of the car. And plus I was hungry, And I just wanted to leave that place, but Jimmy loves Ghost Town. So I said, great. So I sat in the car, took photos, and then he's been bugging me ever since. Did you do that video yet for me? And I said, oh, I'll get to it. I'll get to it. So I did it. Done.
I mean, if you ever get Jimmy to bring you to Michigan to visit us, I'll take you to a really big ghost town. It's called
He would
Detroit.
love it. He would love it.
Detroit.
I take him to areas in Detroit where nobody lives.
He'd be in his glory. Drop me off at Starbucks.
Now, Arlene, how did you record your audio for that?
Everything I put in Premiere Pro. And so I find music on what's the Pixabay.
Yeah,
And
I was
then,
just. Oh, go ahead. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
and that's how I do it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. As I was listening to your audio, it sounded, and I don't know if it was just me, but it sounded a little crackly at the top end. Did you hear that?
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I put everything into Audition, but I follow instructions, but I guess I'm not a sound engineer, and I don't know, maybe I'm doing something wrong, but it just never turns out right. I don't know.
Arlene,
Yeah.
did you normalize it, because it sounded like the voice level or the pitch in the first page that you were reading was different than the second section?
Well, a lot of times I sort of play with the little sliders, and then I forget where I do one and then with the other, and
Yeah.
so yes, exactly, that's what happened.
Okay. Well, what?
Where is Rhyolite?
So it's close to I don't know, it's about an hour from Las Vegas. It's in Nevada.
And you mentioned Jerome, so that's Jerome near Sedona.
Oh, no. I was
California.
just having fun because the ghost was
I
on
see.
his way to Jerome to haunt.
I found out with the sound, everybody was commenting that the sound on a couple of videos sounded really strange or different. And I went and backtracked and found out that I had been doing the narration with a set of headphones and a microphone. And that was the problem. When I took the headset off and used the lavalier mic instead, it was excellent.
Oh, so then I should buy a lavalier.
Yeah, it really works much better
Oh,
than
okay. Yeah, I don't have that. Okay.
Well,
Yeah, well, that makes sense. Yeah, well, that makes sense. Sure.
well, there's so many ways that you can do it. That certainly is one way. You can also use your phone and just, if you got your phone, just talk into your phone and record it that way. And that would be another way to do it, and then output that file. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think in the post processing, I'd love to see the UV meters, because I wonder if you're clipping. It's so high that's why it got a little crackly. I don't know, but
I
yeah. Well, one of the things I want to do, and I was telling Todd this, I want to maybe after the first of the year have a little off multimedia class where we talk about audio and look at recording levels and stuff, and make it so it's generic, not just specific to the program that I use, so that people can kind of understand that, and then also maybe some color correction stuff and some of that stuff. So anyway, maybe after the first of the year we'll do something like that.
yeah, that'd be good.
That would definitely help. So, okay. Does anybody have anything else on that they'd like to add?
No, it was fun. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Arlene. Nice job on that. Sherry Lee, why don't you tell us you've got a couple of little videos for us. Why don't you tell us about those, please?
Okay, so the first one is our recent trip to Portugal. And I was having a lot of fun with this, trying new, I use Premiere Elements, and I'm playing with the FX tab, if that means anything to any of you. And I'm having a lot of fun trying and playing with these special effects. Portugal has been on our list, and we jumped at the opportunity to go on our own en route to a Viking cruise. Renting a cute little stick-shift Fiat, off we go, heading to our destination. However, our car's GPS had other plans for us. Right into the heart of old Lisbon, narrow, one-way, hilly, cobblestone streets loaded with tourists, including 3 cruise ships worth. Breathe. Over an hour later, we were back on track for our journey south through wonderfully calm country roads. And then the rain. So grateful to get inside our comfortable abode, a renovated flat with delightful original features. It also boasted a rooftop patio. With a view of the local castle. Driving down the street, we discovered bakeries and a market with an amazing restaurant above it, along with several other local restaurants. This is not a tourist town. The food was spectacular. We enjoyed cappuccino and pastries in the morning and the most delicious fresh fish and vegetables for most meals. It rained off and on, mostly on, during our entire stay. Yet that did not stop our exploring, and visiting the medieval castle was a must. It is classified as a national monument. The castle was built by the Moors beginning in the 8th century. In the 18th century, it was gradually abandoned and fell to ruin. Then eventually became the site for the town's cemetery in the 19th century. There's a water tower offering views of the castle and the Atlantic coast. Then, by accident, we found ourselves at the public park. And pool. With the current occupants. We seized our first truly sunny day and headed to the Atlantic coast. A delightful surprise while walking along the coast were numerous wild cats. They were well fed and well cared for. Our exploring took us up the cliff to that castle. We joined locals for cappuccino and enjoyed other old town sights. Still taking advantage of the weather before more rain, we scurried back to visit the Roman ruins just outside of town. From the 1st to the 3rd century AD, the site presents some remarkable features such as residential and commercial zones, bath complex, bridge, the Forum, and stone-paved streets. It was known for races by Lusitanian horses, famous throughout the Roman world. Concluding our wonderful week at the pub down the block and saying farewell to our enchanting Airbnb. On the drive back to Lisbon, we were captivated with the sustainable cork oak trees and the perfectly shaped holm oak trees. Overnight in Lisbon, and an unremarkable flight to Belgium. Up next, cruising with Viking through Belgium and the Netherlands.
What do we think of that?
Wow.
good. There's a
That's all I
couple-
can say. That's well done.
A
A little
couple,
humor. The one thing about Sherry's videos is how good the narration is. Her voice is crisp and it's clear and it's bouncy and it's interesting. Sherry, did it take you more than one take on the voice?
It takes me a while. I use Audacity, and I've written out all my script, and then I record it into Audacity, and then I go through and I take background sound out. Larry taught me how to do that. And then I go through and I try and do the voice normalization, but I have so much pitch in my voice that I then have to go through it again and take the high points, and then I take those and select them, and then I have to renormalize those so that they're not going up off the charts. So it does take me a while to try and get my narration into something that will not scream.
Yeah, I always had trouble getting the right words down. Brian Lavender used to call me 5Take Gene, and then he brought a teleprompter in, and that made a really big difference. And I was able to do it, without stumbling over words and laughing and giggling and all the stupid stuff you do in front of the camera.
I had a couple comments, Sherry Lee. One was when you were showing the pictures of the coast, you could hear the wind in the background. So,
Well, it was actually supposed to be the ocean.
so I so you were looking for sounds of the ocean?
Yes,
Was that a clip that you brought into it, or the actual?
that was the actual ocean.
That
was my actual
all I heard was
recording.
wind.
Interesting.
So I'd
Okay.
probably just take the audio part of that and take it out, and then go into Pixabay or one of these other places and find some sounds of crashing waves
Okay.
to put in. The other thing was, and this was back towards the beginning, you showed a map over on the left-hand side, and at least on my screen, there was some smoke or fog or something like off the side of it that I kind of was distracting to me. I'm like, well, what's that? And then the clip moved on. I don't know if anyone else caught that.
It was the so one of the things on FX is where you can have it do a little background, like a mat, to the picture, so it makes the picture stand out a little bit more. And then I like to blur it, so that was my intentional doing, but I can change that easily.
Well, it's your video, so it has to be what you want and everything. I found that a little distracting because I was
Okay.
trying to look at the map, and I'm like, what's this other? And it wasn't really up for very long in the video, so I didn't really get to see much of the map.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Jerry, that's something that I found out playing with a lot of the videos is on the special effects, I'll put them into a video and then ask family and friends to comment on it. And I figure out which special effects that I thought were cool, they thought were stupid, things like that.
Yeah.
Gene, is that before or after the gummies?
Usually after.
Nice.
one of my exciting things on that was really fun for me was getting the freak out gal and then making the car spin all around, and figuring out how to be able to do that with the FX features. That was particularly fun for me to do that, and then getting this horrible music that tied in. It was so hard. That was really scary.
The one thing I saw, it at the very beginning, it seemed like the pace was really fast. The first maybe, I don't know, 20 seconds or 30 seconds, there was a lot going on. And then you got into this nice rhythm where it was, you were a little bit slower and I had time to digest. I'll be interested to watch the video again to see that first part because I think I missed some of what was going on just in terms of there was so much going on. So anyway, that's
Yeah.
other than that though, I thought your volumes were good, your photos and everything were great. So you did a good job with the sound on that one. So that was good.
I did see a glitch in
Yeah.
it in the middle there. It did not do that for me before, but I'm going to go back and check that and make sure that gets cleaned out before I put it on, before I post it on YouTube.
Yeah, there was that spot I think with the ocean and then something kind of glitched a little bit and then it went
Yeah,
back and it
yeah,
was fine.
yeah.
Well, good.
But
Um,
I'll fix that and I'll send it, or else I'll send it to you so you can.
yes, that would be wonderful.
Yeah,
Then I can insert it and the same with
yeah,
Arlene and any videos that you send would be greatly appreciated because then I put them in and make it all nice and pretty in post.
yeah.
Um, does anybody have anything else for that video? I know Sherry Lee's got one more little one for us.
Well, I like I liked that's as close as I'm going to get to Portugal, and I very much enjoyed the free trip to Portugal. I enjoyed the architecture, the historic buildings, and I was puzzled as to you said that you discovered that city, or at least one of the places you visited, was not a tourist town.
Yeah.
Is that by choice or?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was an Airbnb and we didn't want to go into a heavy tourist area. So we kind of picked a spot where we'd be in an old town that was not a real big town. And so we found an Airbnb and it was definitely a better price than the heavier tourist areas. There was not much English spoken there. In fact, the only time we heard it was in the restaurant when the waiter would accommodate us with just what they could speak on the menu, you know.
Got it.
But yeah, it was a little bit challenging because you didn't have the English, but it was also really cool to have that experience.
Cool. Thank you.
Nice. Does anybody have anything else on that? All right. Well, we got time for one more video, and it's Joe's video. So, Joe, why don't you tell us about this video, please?
Okay, I was going to blame Tom Parker, just kidding, but Tom Parker mentioned at one of the meetings 2 or 3 weeks ago that there were going to be some taggers in Tucson painting or whatever taggers do. I guess if they're using paint, so do we call them painters or taggers? But this was going to, he said, what really got my attention is when he said 500 feet of mural. So I went up there, my wife went along, and the tagging, I tried to get information from the guy who was the event promoter or the guy in charge. And I said, can I go to the newspaper or how will I get information about this? And he said, oh, we don't use local media. He doesn't use the newspaper. He doesn't use television. They have their own network. And apparently I would have had to join Instagram to get knowledge about the event. But I just have some notes here just before this goes. This is one of the strangest things I've ever done. And I went in there with the idea of doing more video than stills. I'm still in transition going from stills to videos, and I'm enjoying it. And I learned more about audio on this this project. But some of my notes, like I say now, I'm going to ask if I have too complicated an introduction. They used a poster which is not legible, and maybe I'll just let it go and
Okay.
go ahead, Kevin.
All right, let's check it out.
By studying.
Preacher man, yes he was, yes he was. Being good isn't always easy, no matter how hard I try. When he started sweet talking to me, he'd come and tell me everything is alright. He'd kiss and tell me everything's alright. Can I get away again tonight? The only one who could ever reach me was the son of a preacher man. The only boy who could ever teach me was the son of a preacher man. Yes, he was. He was. Lord, Lord, he was. Yes, he was. How well I remember the look was in
What do we think of that?
You notice the silence there? That's because everybody's kind of mulling it over. I think it's phenomenal. Honest to God, he captured something that's very difficult to do. You're on a cultural fringe and you're trying to make everybody understand what's going on there. It's amazing. And he did it well, but he's got pictures of close-ups of the spray cans and everything else. And honestly, that's a very unusual tagging situation. Usually they work in areas that are about 8 by 10 square feet, not things that you need a lift to get up to. So that's a really interesting video. You walk away feeling, wow, what did I just see?
We were fascinated. I mean, we didn't know there was such an event, and
We're going next year.
Yeah.
what are the things pretty early on? You had traffic noise kind of overriding or overwhelming the music that you were playing in the background, and I didn't think that traffic noise was helpful to the video, and I found it a little bit distracting. So that's a comment I had on that.
Was the music actually playing there, or did you add the music in?
Yes and no. I was excited because there was ambient music, all sorts of ambient music, and both of those songs, copyrighted songs, got through or got by or were accepted by YouTube. But those were the songs that I heard most often, or for the largest areas. So I did buy those songs and then plug them in to try to balance, because particularly with the still shots, if there was no music, boy, that was really lame. It was going to be a weak part of the video or the movie. So I did introduce that. And I appreciate the thought about the comments about what I was trying to do with the scene setter with the traffic. I never liked that scene. It's an ugly scene, and particularly that time of the day. And I really wrestled with the introduction, but I was experimenting and learning how to when you said override, that my intent was to let you hear that traffic and see that traffic to help orient you to where this was taking place. I'm not defending it. I'm just sort of explaining it. And those posters and that the tagging itself was almost annoying to me that is how they promote that. But those people are in another world. I noticed that the average age might be about 40. All of the expenses they're paying for all of their own paint, as I understand it. I don't know who paid for the lifts. There were at least a dozen, I would say a dozen of those high dollar lifts that they were using. And to Marilyn's point, that happens every year. Everything that they put up there over a 3 or 4 day period will be redone next year, with the exception of 3 pieces, including that Linda Ronstadt piece. I was told that the point was for those people to get to know each other. And when I asked about I asked one or two of the people about business cards, and they laughed at me, saying that's just nothing that those people deal with. But that they, as you saw, they'll sign anything, and they'll spend quite a bit of time. I saw a person wearing a mask.
You heard me laughing in the background. You're dealing with a subculture that's probably illegal in most of the cities it takes place in. So, it's always on the fringe in terms of who does it and how well known they are. In Detroit, seriously, some of the taggers are so well known. As soon as you see their artwork, somebody says, "Oh yeah, that's Jimmy's stuff,"
Yeah.
I'd like to see
I-
it at the club because on Zoom, for me, at least in my internet connection, it was really jerky, and I don't think your production is. But
You're right, Todd. Mine was jerky here, but not the video is not jerky. But you're right. That was the only disappointment I had. I mean, in seeing it online.
I really like some of the shots, especially that one that you had where the guy was painting the wall and was kind of up close and just kind of his head and hand and everything and painting. I thought that was a cool shot. In the beginning, when you were showing, I guess those posters,
Yeah.
that you talked about, I didn't understand what they were. I didn't if I was trying to read something and I wasn't able, and that's no reflection on what you did there or anything. It's how they do their artwork and things like that. And sometimes you have to look at it. So maybe have it up a little bit longer or something like that. I don't know.
Well, that's interesting. And I almost thought about a headline with that would say, "You can't read it, and neither can anybody else." I honest to God, I wonder how they do that. This was an event that I covered that when I walked away, I had more questions than I had answers, and I really was not a situation where I could talk to a lot of people. They were pretty damn busy, the artists, and I didn't really show all of the artists, but I would have guessed that I did guesstimate as many as 30 artists. There were few people walking through there off the street, and it was such a nice day. I was a little bit puzzled. But again, how did I learn of it? It was only because of Tom Parker. I can't remember where he learned of it, but it was apparently not something that was on television or in the newspaper. So whatever, I guess that, my thanks to the club again, for the umpteenth time. My thanks to the multimedia group.
Joe?
I have a couple comments, if it's okay. I think it speaks for itself. I don't feel like you need to add any words to it or anything. I mean, that's a fun idea. I also thought that having the traffic in the beginning of it did help set the stage. So my opinion is different from Todd's. I think that's an important piece to have in it. The music, I think it's the music that you added in to try and keep the flavor going. It wasn't an easy flow between the recorded live music and the music you bought and put in. I'm not sure, at least for me, sometimes it got too loud. I had to turn my speaker down. It didn't seem like there was a good flow overall in the music. So whether it's just taking the purchased music, or I often do, I take the music that I have recorded that's actually part of a video, and then I just I take that music and I move it on so that it still has the ambient noise of wherever I'm at, and I just keep replaying that same music rather than putting in fresh music. But it's, again, it's personal preference, but somehow being able to smooth out the music, I would recommend. But
I appreciate that, and I learned so much about audio and mixing it in, and looking at the YouTube demonstrations, and I was wishing that John would have been at my side, or you. But there was so much, and frankly, I had an ethics question, because with a news background, this was just unthinkable to be introducing music that was not there. So it was because of this presentation, for the club and for discussion and the experience. But if I had it to do over again, I think I would have tried to record their music only. But, well, anyhow.
Hey, try, just for fun, play around a little bit. Try Cyndi Lauper's True Colors in the background for that. You may be surprised how well it fits.
Well, Gene, but see, I did not want to introduce anything other than what was there.
Gotcha.
I was, yeah. And, it's like the most for every video I do, I'm not complaining, but it boils down to the audio, the music. It just always boils down to the music. John, am I crazy?
No,
No, I think the mixing of stills and video. I think, Joe, I'm looking for your first production where you're all video. I'm waiting
So am
for
I. So am I, John.
it. I know you're a great still photographer, and I know it's hard to let that go. But that's a video. That's a video production. That should be an all video production.
I will buy. I will agree with you, particularly after trying to use stills. When I was putting stills in, they looked okay, but then the audio, it wasn't right.
So a great way, and about the street noise, no, that's a part of what's going on there, and you really want to take advantage of that. And the way to do that is to, when you get there, go way back somewhere, go down the street where you almost can't see what's going on. Get the camera down low and just let traffic go in front of you, and then move a little closer. Get onto the sidewalk. People are coming by. You come around the corner and there's the thing going on. That's the way you set it up. You find it just as you did. You didn't find that easily, right? It was like, okay, where is this thing and how do I get here? Recreate that experience of finding it, and then get closer and closer and closer. And I think that's the way you do it, and all in video. So have your experience. It's a strange experience for someone our age to see that, a culture we don't know anything about. They don't use media, any of the media that we use. They use all media that we don't use, So just experience it that way, and go with what their experience is through your eyes. And I think then you'll have it. But all video, and approach it from a distance and let that natural sound happen. And as Sherry said, if there's music playing there, get your phone or whatever you've got that's recording audio. Just get there and just put it right next to that for 2 or 3 minutes, and then you'll get your whole audio track or several songs, and then you can use that all later. And because that's that sound that you're finding on location, it's also more likely to get by YouTube because it's ambient sound. It's not sound that you're buying and adding in.
I have a question. First of all, do you know if it has some kind of organization? All of those walls have to be painted over so that they have a clean palette to draw on. Do you know how they do that?
No, but it was one of my many questions. I thought of that as recently as this morning. Who does that?
well, you're on U of A's campus, aren't you?
No. This was on
No.
Congress, just as it was on
okay.
Congress, just a block from the Fox movie theater, I think.
Oh, okay.
And what time of year do they do this?
This was 2 weeks ago.
Really?
1 week ago or 2 weeks ago.
Is that the parking lot just down from the Fox Theater?
Yes.
Okay. We park there when we go to Fox Theater.
I noticed it's a 90. I counted the space. I did a Google Earth photo I was going to use, but it's a little bit crummy. But it was, I counted, it's a 90 car parking lot. Do you think, Marilyn, do you think that that's owned by the city?
No,
I think it's a private lot because
we park there. And
well,
we-
and there's a name of an organization, a company that you're paying to, I think. So I'm guessing it's a private lot.
where you have to go and put money in
Well, they have a vending machine
Yeah,
to
okay.
pay for parking.
next to the big parking lot.
Well, there's the indoor
Yeah, okay.
parking lot, but this is just the outdoor with the walls there.
I want to go next year or whenever they have it.
Me too.
Well, let Tom know, and maybe we schedule a club trip to go to that.
Yeah.
Might be a lot of fun for everybody to see it.
There's plenty of room.
It's really amazing.
You know,
It would be fun to just photograph.
Kevin, that's an interesting idea because nobody would be in, you wouldn't have any sort of a restriction, everybody could do their thing without being in anybody else's way.
Sure. It sounds like it's a big enough area that you wouldn't
Yep.
be walking all over each other, which is good.
Yep.
I do have one quick little goodie about just the ambient music that goes on and something like that. Sherry Lee had this happen on one of her Asia trips. I can't remember where. They were doing some karaoke and she wasn't singing, but there was singing going on in the background. And the video got tagged by YouTube for the music. So my suggestion is I like John's idea of recording music, but be prepared possibly that whatever music is being played is going to have an issue and you're going to have to then do something when you do your video editing. So it's good to
I
have
have
it.
a little workaround, Kevin, and we got to experiment with it to see if it actually works. This is what I was told to do. I want to use a piece of music, like I mentioned, Cyndi Lauper's True Colors. So what I do is I turn my Audacity on, I go to YouTube, I find a copy of it on YouTube, and I record the music. And then when I use that, it doesn't get tagged, and I don't know why.
My assumption is, and I don't know for sure, but my assumption is that if the music is out there by the artist, let's say, her music video, then they've approved it, obviously, and it can go through. Uh,
Yeah,
and we've talked about this a million times. You just never know what music is
no.
going to get tagged or dinged or not. So just I like the idea of recording the ambient music, and then if it doesn't work for whatever reason, then go ahead and put in something else like Joe was doing. So at least he already knew that indeed this music was going to be okay because he posted this video on his YouTube page. And that's the way you find out if something's going to work or not. So anyway, that's just a little food for thought going forward. Okay, does anybody have anything else before we wrap up today?
I have a couple
Hey, are we gonna
comments.
do a Toy Story again this year?
We sure could. I mean, I would say probably if we were going to do something like that, we would do it sometime in January or February. We had a
Okay,
good attendance for that last year when we did that, and we could definitely do it again. I like that idea.
What is
yeah,
it?
I'd like to do it.
What
Toy,
is it?
Toy Story was a thing that Brian started a number of years ago, and basically, you just bring in a piece of gear that you have that you use and just talk about it a little bit. You don't have to do it. And it was interesting to see some of the different little techniques or things somebody maybe has done something that's handmade as a tool to help them with their photography or their video. And so anyway, it's just kind of a fun way to you open up people's eyes to a little toy or a gadget that they could use for their stuff. So anyway, that I think that's a good idea, Gene. We'll definitely talk about that.
Mike
Okay,
is our current Mr. Gadget guy. He's always creating something to mount his cameras to or uh, microphones. I mean, he's forever doing stuff like that. But
Exactly. Go ahead, Todd.
well, I just want to make a couple comments. One is a pitch. Some of you may know, others may not, is that I've now taken over Showtime. And I'm really counting on you folks to send videos to me because it's coming up in about 3 weeks. And basically, all I have is stuff that I've done. So I actually this morning sent over to Sam. I rewrote the Showtime page and I created a website, not a website, an email address on there. It's GVRPC Showtime at gmail.com for people to send videos over to me, and also put in a plug that if you don't have any experiences, join our multimedia group. We got a lot of people that can help out to create videos. So that is on there. So please send me some videos. I need some for the show in January. I don't want to be embarrassed. You know, the first
And,
one.
and the copy that Todd sent me is up on the website already. So if you need to look for the email address, it's there.
Find the difference between Showtime and Travelog.
Well, travelogue is basically for people's travels and things
Right, I
like
understand.
what Sherry Lee does and everything. But then, and I'll use Sherry Lee as an example, and not that she's going to use that, but like the little birthday party, that would be something for Showtime.
Okay,
So Showtime, you go on a field trip or you do something and put together what Joe just showed. That would be perfect
Yeah.
for something like Showtime. So Showtime ones pretty much are going to be 5 minutes or less, where
Mhm.
Travelog, Paul's usually looking for something more in the 20-minute range, give or take a little bit of time and everything. So that's
Thank you.
that's the difference. Technical question, if anyone may have any answer to this. I am working on a video. I was hoping to show it today, but I'm not there with it yet because one of the conundrums I've come up with is this. I shot the video, um, and it has audio to it, but there's a lot of background noise to it and a lot of other things, and I want to clean that up. Now, I tried to clean it up as best as I could in DaVinci, and it cleaned it up some, but I'm looking to maybe take it a little better so I don't have all this background noise. But when I just tried to take that over to Audacity, I couldn't paste it, I couldn't import it into Audacity. So I know I can separate the audio from video in DaVinci, but how would I get just that audio? How do I get to import that into something like Audacity? And I was talking to Larry, and poor Larry, he probably ended up at the club or something today because he said he was going to be there, and I was hoping he was gonna show me how to do that. But I don't know if any of you need, because this is a short little video, but I want to get it done because I have several others in the works.
I don't.
I'm not using Audacity, but I can tell you how it's done in some of the other video editors. I separate the soundtrack from the video, and when I go to export or render, I can choose to render it as a video, or I can choose to render it as an MP3. And so often that I just render it as an MP3, work on it, run it through Audacity or anything else I want to use, and then put it back in. Another option is to get a free copy of CapCut, CapCut. It's a video editor, online video editor, but it has I want to say a filter that's really, really good for reducing the background noise that you don't want, ambient background noise. It works very well.
Okay, I'll take a look at that too. I'll try doing that exporting. I haven't.
Yep.
I didn't think about that. I didn't look at that in DaVinci to see if I could, export it as a MP3.
Yep.
That would definitely solve the issue. But
Okay.
it's hung me up on this video I'm doing right now.
Well, you'll have to give that a try and see if that can work for you. Okay. Next week is the 18th, next Monday. Hopefully we have power again at the club. I may or may not be on vacation, depending on if I'm still sick or not. If Todd has graciously offered to host next Monday at the club, and so we will do that. That'll be wonderful. I'll, of course, have summary and let people know what's going on. For Christmas and New Year's, those both fall on a Monday, so we will not have any SIG on those days. So we're going to have a couple of weeks break. And then the next time we'll meet, I believe, is the 8th of January. So be thinking about that. I will also, in the summary that I send out, be adding Todd's information about Showtime and where to send stuff. And then I can also send him some things from past shows that we've had here in terms of our multimedia stuff. So anyway, we'll get him fixed up. We'll make him look good, and that'll be great. All right. I hope
Thanks, Kevin.
everybody has a great rest of your week. We'll be in touch, and we'll look forward to seeing you next Monday, hopefully at the club. All right. Bye-bye, everybody.